Kilwinning Heritage has a volunteer-operated museum within the north tower of the ruins of Kilwinning Abbey. When you visit the museum, you can obtain a free self-guided tour to the remains of Kilwinning Abbey. This presentation will showcase some of our favourite items from our collection. The Ancient Society of Kilwinning Archers is believed to be the oldest archery club in the UK, if not the world. Whilst records are only available from 1688, there is a written reference to a Papingo shoot in Kilwinning in 1483. This silk banner commemorates that event. The annual Papingo shoot, the only one of its type in the world, is held in the grounds of the Abbey on the first Saturday in June, when the Papingo, a decorated wooden bird, is mounted on the end of a horizontal pole at the top of the clock tower, to allow the archers to attempt to dislodge first the wings, then the bird itself. Eglinton Castle was a large castellated Gothic mansion belonging to the Earls of Eglinton and Winton. Due to declining finances, the castle was de-roofed in 1926 and the contents auctioned. During the period of the Second World War, the ruins were utilised for target practice by the army, leaving only a small proportion of the building still standing. This matchstick model shows the castle in its heyday. The town of Kilwinning probably developed from a small settlement on the east side of the River Garnock, known as Segdon. The coming of St Winning and subsequently of Tyrrhenesian monks of the Benedictine order shaped the development of Kilwinning as a major centre of medieval Christianity. This picture from the museum shows the town in the 19th century, with the railway and the ironworks belching smoke and flame. Kilwinning was once served by two railway companies, the Glasgow and South Western and the Caledonian, both with their own stations and lines. The Calais line is almost completely lost, now forming part of a trail of footpaths around the town or built over. This sign, dating from the 1970s, comes from the Glasgow and South Western line. The advent of the railway brought new opportunities. Samuel Gall, a saddler and leather merchant in the Howgate, operated the first railway sub-office, a precursor to a parcel sorting office. You can see some of his personalised buttons that he used on his leatherwork in our collection. There are a number of churches in Kilwinning. The parish church of Kilwinning was built by John Garland and John Wright and completed in 1774. It stands on the site of an earlier 16th century church, which in turn was located within the ruins of Kilwinning Abbey. Greenfoot Church, the original Secession church, is the oldest dissenting church in Kilwinning, built in 1759 and rebuilt in 1825. Pewter communion ware dating from 1765, which belonged to the original Secession Church of Kilwinning, is on display in the Abbey Tower. Most of the items on display in the museum relate to the ordinary people of Kilwinning. On the left you can see the robes of the Provost of Kilwinning Town Council, and on the right the photograph is of a sampler giving the notable dates of the Thompson family. They moved from Lanarkshire to work in the Eglinton Ironworks and lived in the Tide Works cottages. Two of the children went on to become teachers in the Eglinton Ironworks School. We have a beautifully hand-drawn copy of the Roll of Honour from Fergus Hill Parish Church, now a private residence. At the top right you can see a death plaque. These were issued during the First World War to the families of fallen servicemen. We also have many correspondence and documents written during the First World War. The Scottish Reform Act 1832 was an Act of Parliament that introduced wide-ranging changes to the election laws of Scotland. The Act revolutionised politics in Scotland. The Scottish electorate overnight soared from 5,000 to 65,000, or 13% of the adult men, and was no longer a private preserve for a very few rich families. This silk banner was carried in support of the new Act. This is a magic lantern. Originally lit by candlelight, it was later converted to electricity. It was used to create a slideshow from images painted onto glass slides. Before the days of the 999 emergency service and doctors' practices, those in need of medical help had to send someone to the doctor's house. This would have been identified by a lamp outside the house, like this gaslit example from Dr. Charles Auld, 1837 to 1911. Kilwinning has had many football teams over the years, but today only Kilwinning Rangers remain. Known locally as the Buffs, they were founded in 1899. They play in blue and white hoops in the West of Scotland League. The present clock tower was built in 1816 on the foundations of the original medieval Abbey Tower. It was designed by David Hamilton and contains the original clock mechanism built by James Blair, also in 1816. Can you notice something unusual about the clock face? It is a common trick of clock and watchmakers to make Roman numerals easier to understand at a glance. The number 4 is written as 4 individual lines rather than the more usual IV. If you'd like to know more about Kilwinning or about Kilwinning heritage itself, you can have a look on our website, where you can make a donation, become a member, buy publications and download out-of-print books about the history of Kilwinning, or you can follow us on Facebook.